Welcome to the Sports Card Lessons Podcast. I'm your host, Big Ken. Whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on a streaming service, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you'll be notified whenever I drop any new content. Welcome. Thanks for being here. Happy Sunday. It's been a busy hobby weekend for me. Um, I seem to feel it all the time on Sunday. This time late in the day, it's like here in Connecticut right now, it's like 4:30 on Sunday. And I'm just like, wow, 2 days of hobbying. And I'm like, oh, I just get tired. I look forward to Sunday night just to kick back and relax a little bit. Um, this weekend, the initial plan this weekend, as of Friday, was to meet up with my guy Rich at Zwittlebug Cards and Bill and Billy from Bill and Billy Sports Cards, um, and go to the Westbrook show Saturday morning. There was talk about going to the Shriners show in Massachusetts and the Best Flippin' Card show in Massachusetts. And I know there was just a number of other shows this weekend. And I think they all kind of got bunched up into one weekend because of Easter, which is next weekend. And I think people were just, moving their monthly show around so it didn't fall on a holiday weekend. And I think what happened was this weekend just ended up with just a bunch of shows everywhere. Even Connecticut, we had 4 shows this weekend. So I was a little worried about all these shows in one weekend, and it was just going to end up watering down how the foot traffic, limiting the foot traffic for all the shows, because people have to go somewhere and they're not going to go everywhere. So I didn't know how that was going to pan out for the weekend. And then there was some advertisement. I said there was 4 shows. There's a brand new show this weekend that started in Waterbury, Uncle Tony's Card Show. So we called an audible on Friday, and we decided we were going to meet at the closer show, which is Uncle Tony's in Waterbury, and then head down to Westbrook after that. And just to give you an idea, Uncle Tony's show is about 15 minutes west from me, and Westbrook is 45 minutes east from me. And where I live is probably a direct line between those 2 shows. So Saturday morning, I was that guy at the cards show, right? That I see at every show that I set up at. The guys that show up 20 minutes before the doors open. That was me. I showed up 20 minutes before, hoping to get in there early and get some steals and deals before everybody else showed up. I didn't actually get any deals done at this show. This was their first show, but I thought the show was well put together. Over time, I think this show will definitely gain some traction if it continues, just as long as it doesn't. I think one of the biggest problems is trying to figure out, right, where everybody fits in. We keep adding shows, but we're not adding any more weekend days to the month, right? So the more and more shows keep showing up, either some shows have to go or some shows are never going to gain traction. So it's going to be interesting to see, how that is, because as it is before some of these shows, got started, right? There were shows every weekend, and now you're going to start to see that shows are going to be, going up directly against other shows in the state. So I'm hoping, they could figure out a way to make this work, so we can keep the shows, but have it make sense. So this show, Uncle Tony's, held in a gymnasium, right? Great lighting. I always like a show with great lighting, and I always say that. Plenty of parking, easily accessible from the parking lot, and just a ton of room to expand. And I think because it was a gymnasium, it reminded me a little of that show I recently did in New York. that was also in a gymnasium that had good lighting. So there's definitely plenty of room to expand, when you put a show in a gymnasium. Um, and I'm not sure what their initial goal is. And it's funny because I was set up next to Tony. I was 2 tables down from him today. I should have asked after I left. I said, well, I probably should have asked him how often they plan on having that show. Whether it's going to be monthly or every couple months or every 3 months, what it's going to be. But I'll look forward to attending that show again. I mean, 15 minutes from my house is always a win. But we were done early at that show, and I was expecting that we're all just going to hop in one car and head to the Westbrook show. Bill and Billy decided they were not going to go, and initially I was kind of in agreement with them, but then I just got this idea. I just wanted to go. There was just something that just said, "Hey, let's go." Not sure what it was, and I think that'll become a little clearer, later in the podcast. I'll re-mention that. So I talked to Rich, and Rich said, "Yeah, I'll go with you." So he hopped in my car, and we headed down to Westbrook. It's my second time attending that show, and I refer to that show as the Westbrook show, right? But it's actually called the Shoreline Cards and Collectible Show. I think it's in a great location. Again, great lighting. It's in a retail building, right? It's in a strip mall. It's an end cap store of a strip mall. I mean, it's just easy parking, easy to get in, right off the highway. There's a lot of positives to the show and its location. I know a number of the dealers there, as I do at every show I go to. I know, probably close to half of all the dealers at every show. And I know there's another dealer named Ken that deals with women's cards. Go figure, right? But I always run into him, and I know what shows he'll be at. And I usually get a decent, I usually pick 1 or 2 cards up from him all the time. I was able to make a deal for this select WNBA Cameron Brink Pink Ice PSA 10. I will put that away, and when the season gets started, I'll hope to do well on that card. I think I've talked about Cameron Brink, that she exited the season early last year with a torn ACL, and I think she was out before select WNBA even dropped. So I think all of her cards are very undervalued right now. So I'm hoping that when she gets back to playing this year, that value will increase. So I was able to make a deal there. Appreciate Ken, appreciate the deal he gave me. I made a few other deals for some smaller cards there. And my guy, Rich, was finalizing a deal. So I was just waiting on him, getting ready to go. And Pam Skeens approached me and said, "Hey, are you Ken, and do you have a podcast?" Why, yes, I am. And yes, I do. Right. So she asked me if I knew the story behind this card show that I was at. And honestly, I didn't. Whether card shows are new or old, in my mind, it's always based on a business plan, and it's for profit. Right. I mean, when we talk about card shows and somebody says to me, "Oh," and I hear this all the time from so many people, "Hey, do you think we should put a card show here? Do you think we should put a show there?" And this and that. And the first thing is, what would the room cost, and how much can we charge for tables, and how much would we make? Right. So it's always more of a for profit. So I never really think about, you know, any history. Right. And I think probably there's not much history to most card shows. Right. So she started telling me the story about the show and her nephew, Ryan Burns, who started the show. It was his passion project. He was, a participant in the hobby, loved the cards. and he started this show with the support from his friends and family. And sadly, this past September, 2024, Ryan passed away unexpectedly. And I knew of this because, this got right around the hobby when this happened. A lot of people were posting and a lot of people were talking about that. It was very sad. Um, and his close friend, Ian Porter, his aunt Pam Skeens, who I'm talking to, and his cousin Allison, they continued the show in his honor. Um, they are the unsung heroes of this show, and in the hobby, right? I mean, we talk about a lot of people that do a lot of things that probably never really get recognized or don't get much recognition. Um, and as much as this hobby is about the love of cards, I think we know over these last few years it's really become a lot about financial gain and not as much about the cards, right? Um, so in an event like this, when somebody was really passionate about starting a show like this, and something as tragic like that happens, right? A lot of times this would just go away, but they didn't want it. They wanted to keep this show going. Um, Pam was very passionate about Ryan and the show he started, and her and friend Ian and cousin Allison are dedicated to keep this show going, not only for Ryan, but to keep his memory alive in the hobby community. Pam brought me around, introduced me to the friends and the family that make this show happen. And I knew there was something that drew me to the show yesterday. I mean, I just knew, and all of a sudden nobody was going, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go. I'll go myself, right? I didn't know why. I didn't know why I was going, and then after meeting Pam and hearing the story and going around and meeting everybody, I said, this was it. This was the reason, something told me to go to this show today. And I'm so happy that I did. I'm so happy I'm just able to, tell this story and just get that information out there, because the show now is more about, profit and money, and it's more about, keeping his memory alive. So they are the heroes here in this somewhat sad story, right? Their next show, so they don't do monthly. Every couple months they do the show. Their next show is June 14th. The address for this show, 314 Flat Rock Place, and it's in the Westbrook Outlets. Again, like I said, super easy to get in, to get out. Just a great place to have a card show. So this morning, Sunday morning, was up early, setting up at the New Britain show, the hard-hitting New Britain, this monthly show that I always set up at. And today, this show was directly up against another show not that far away in Orange. So again, I wasn't sure what to expect. I knew one of those shows were probably going to be affected by them both being on the same day. Um, and since I'm in New Britain, I'm hoping it's the Orange show. um, and as usual, New Britain did not disappoint. Just tons of foot traffic from the word go in the morning. I mean, this show is becoming, and my guy Scott, he called me up and he said to me, I think New Britain is probably one of the busiest shows of the month now. And it really is. I mean, I like setting up there. I think the room is big, right? And honestly, I never thought the location was good, but location meaning where it was in the state, but I think the location, the room that it's in, makes up for the location where the actual building is. Um, and the show is successful, right? I mean, I'm happy to be setting up there once a month. Tons of foot traffic. It was a weird day for me, and I'll explain that in a minute. But I think most dealers had a great day there. Um, I was tired, and I thought, if it's a slow day today, I'll pack up a little early. I'll head home to do the podcast, knock it out early. And probably up until about 12:45. And remember, the show ends at 2 p.m. I had very little sales. And as far as buying, a lot of people came in. Um, and I don't think there's many people now in the hobby who have cards that don't know how to look up a comp, right? So they came in, they look up the comps on their cards, and they come to the table and they say, "Are you buying?" Of course I am. And I'll say, "What are you looking to get for the card?" And I'll just give you, I'll throw numbers out there, card, I want to get $150 for the card. And then I'll look up the last comps. It's like $119 or $129. And I said, "Well, I mean, I need to be a little under the last comp, and you're way over the last comp." And there were other people that said, "Look, I know the last one sold at $100. That's what I want for it." And I was like, "Okay, but I can't do that for you. I mean, I'm sorry." Um, and I'm the first table inside the door, and having that first table, people don't always believe the first guy they talk to. Go figure, right? Uh, and I know a lot of people moved on, and probably after hearing the same thing 2, 3, 4 times from other dealers, because we're all pretty much in the same boat, unless it's a PC card, right? Eventually they sold their cards off to somebody else. And I had a father and son come, and I was just explaining to him, I'm like, "Look, I'm going to tell you this." And I calculated it out, and I said, "You're probably going to hear that from everybody else." And the dad came back later and said, "I appreciate you walking through that and explaining it to us." Um, and he told me I was pretty much the high offer of the room, but they didn't want they wanted to get more for the card than that, but still just appreciated that I took the time to explain it to them. And that's fine. And I think that's probably, like, I know most of those dealers in the room, and I know how most of them operate. And I think we're all going to be right around the same boat and buying the card. It's who they feel comfortable enough selling it to. I don't even want to say who's more believable, because it is what it is. I mean, we know how much this card is, and that's it. I mean, that's what it is. I bought, a couple Chiefs cards today that would be more of my PC cards. So, I looked at a card, the last sale was like $37 on the card. And I just said, "Look, I'll just give you 35 for it." And they're like, "Oh yeah, it's perfect." They're like, "Yeah, everybody else offering me 20 and 25." But that if this card wasn't going to my PC, I would have said the same thing. But I'm not worried about trying to sell this for more than I buy it for, because I'm just going to take it and drop it into my PC because it's a Chiefs card. So really, for the majority of the day, even though the show was extremely busy, I really didn't sell a lot, and I really didn't buy much. Mostly sold stuff out of my singles boxes. So around 1 o'clock, I started thinking, "Man, do I leave early or do I stay and finish out the last hour?" And I'm glad I chose to stay and finish out the last hour, because the show that goes from 9 to 2, to me, felt like the show was from 1 to 2. I had a number of big sales between 1 and 1:30, which was fantastic. Mostly everything I bought last week at Chicopee, I sold. in that 30-minute span to 2 or 3 different people. And then a guy walked up to my table and said, "Hey, I see you have a bunch of Caitlin Clark cards in your case. Are you interested in buying another one?" Well, of course I am. So he hands me this 2024 Prism, Caitlin Clark Pulsar Prism, numbered to 499, PSA 9, very low pop card. Super excited that that card came because you know what? Now that, not now that we know how popular Caitlin is, not very many really good Caitlin Clarks come to the table anymore. So I always get excited when something good comes. So I was super excited. This card landed at my table, and even more excited that I made an easy deal for it, and now own it. About 1:45, somebody I know in the hobby came to my table and said, "I've got a card you're going to want. I just pack pulled this card 20 minutes ago, drove right over here, hoping you were set up." I said, "That's the kind of dedication that I like, right?" So of all the cards anyone could bring me, we could play a little game here and say, who do you think was on this card? Well, Juju Watkins, of course, you're absolutely right. It's the case hit, the big kahuna, Juju Watkins on card auto. This is going to go nicely with my Sarah Strong identical card. Super excited to have this card. And I'd been looking around on the internet, on on eBay and stuff for one of those, and I've been trying to get into some breaks, getting Juju Watkins, and just the prices of her and these breaks are just insane, and just does not make sense. So, with the prices that she is in the breaks now, it certainly makes sense to buy the card. I mean, you're not going to end up with, if you hit a Super Fractor 101 or something like that. I mean, you're never. I mean, unless you want to, you could buy it. But for the most part, any of these other cards like this, these auto cards, I mean, they're more obtainable just to buy the card than to try to hit them in a break. The last hour of the show was the best hour of the day. So I was really happy. I decided to stick it out. If you follow me on socials, you probably saw I posted another huge card, another huge Sarah Strong card this week. So last week, and I just mentioned that big kahuna Sarah Strong card that I pulled the week before. And then this week was the Super Fractor 1 of 1 that I hit in a break. So it was the Social Studies, Super Fractor, Sarah Strong, 1 of 1. And also in that break was almost the rainbow, was the blue to 150 and the orange to 25. Social Studies, Sarah Strong. So I'm just a few cards shy of the rainbow right now on that. The only 3 that I'm missing for that are the Stealth Refractor, the Gold Refractor, and the Black-Red Stealth Refractor. So I'm on the hunt for those, all in the Social Studies insert. I had another nice card I hit in a break, was this Kiki Irfan. It was the Final Exam on card auto. I was happy to have that too. There's some great cards that came out of the Bowman University basketball. I've been watching so many breaks. I ordered a bunch of the mega boxes that I opened up, and they actually sold very well today. I had a 2-row box. I had dollar cards on one side, and then anywhere from $3 all the way up to I don't even know, $100, $150, on some of those cars, and they sold very well. People were really looking for those cars, but especially the Cooper Flag. Now I know they lost, Duke lost. People said, "Oh, that killed his market," but people are still really buying his cards. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see that. And I know a number of you have reached out to me about asking me if I broke the seal on the hobby, the case, the sealed case of the Bowman U basketball hobby boxes that I have. I did not break the seal. It is still sealed. I've controlled myself not to open it. And it's interesting how many people said, "Is it open yet? Did you break that thing open? How many did you rip?" And I said, "Wow, nobody thinks I have any self-control when it comes to wax, I guess." But yeah, that case is still sealed. Like I said, I've opened up. I ordered before that case came. I ordered 9 of the mega boxes, which they came 3 different days this week. 3 on one day, 3 on another, and 3 on another day. So it kept me busy, right? It filled that void of opening things up. So. But yeah, right now I'm still undecided. I'm going to what I'm going to do with that. So I'm just going to leave it sealed for now until I have a better game plan for that. Not to say I didn't think about ripping that thing open all week, but I've controlled myself. So that's it. That was my weekend. That's all I got for you this week. I will be back next week. Well, next week is like I mentioned, Easter weekend. So you may get a Saturday episode from me, but you're definitely gonna get an episode from me next weekend, and I'll be back with the trio for the hobby chop on Thursday. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. If you like what you hear, please definitely subscribe, and most importantly, tell a friend and spread the word. Till next time, take care of yourselves and everyone around you.